No one from my family came to my wedding. Not my parents, not my older brother, not even my little sister who used to climb into my bed when she had nightmares. I walked down that aisle alone, told myself it didn't matter, and pretended I didn't see the pity in my friend's eyes. 3 years later, when my $185 million hotel empire went viral on national news, my phone lit up with a message from a number I knew by heart. Proud of you, kiddo. Let's talk. Dad, and that was the day I decided how far my revenge would really go. I'm Emily. I'm 27. My story doesn't start with money. It starts with laundry. My parents, Mark and Helen, owned a small, run-down motel off the interstate when I was a kid. We weren't poor exactly, but we were always one broken pipe away from disaster. I grew up folding towels on Saturdays instead of going to birthday parties, spraying down sticky nightstands, and learning exactly how much fake smiling it takes to calm down an angry guest. My brother, Daniel, hated it. He'd sneak off to hang with his friends, leaving me and my little sister, Chloe, to help Mom scrub bathrooms. Dad always said, "Emily's my dependable one. She gets it." I thought it was a compliment. I didn't realize it was a sentence. By the time I was 16. Dad had gone from motel owner to self-declared visionary. He took on massive loans, bought 2 more properties, and rebranded us as the Ashford Collection, like we were some luxury brand and not just trying to keep the lights on. Someday, he'd say, draping his arm around my shoulders, "You'll take this all over. You'll be the queen of hospitality." I used to smile and nod, but secretly, I wanted out. I met Dylan in college. The first time I saw him, he was sitting on the floor in the business school hallway, laptop open, eating instant noodles straight from the cup. His hair was messy, his shirt half untucked, and yet when he complained about predatory landlord practices to his friend, I couldn't stop listening. We ended up in the same entrepreneurship seminar. While everyone else pitched dating apps and drop shipping ideas, Dylan and I spent hours talking about ethical hospitality, about how most hotels treated staff like disposable background props. He grew up with nothing, raised by a single mom who cleaned houses, then hotel rooms, then finally became a supervisor who never got the raise she deserved. He knew exactly how people were treated on the other side of the front desk. I fell in love with him in the back corner of that seminar room, surrounded by whiteboards and half-erased formulas, when he said, "If I ever build something, the housekeepers get equity before the executives." That was the moment I knew my future didn't belong to my father's chain. It belonged to something I would build myself. My family didn't see it that way. The first time I brought Dylan home, Dad sized him up in a single glance. Dylan wore a thrift store button-down and a nervous smile. Mom made polite small talk. Daniel scrolled on his phone. Chloe tried her best, asking Dylan about his favorite TV shows. After dinner, Dad pulled me into his office, glass shelves full of hotel trophies and framed newspaper clippings of the Ashford Collection's supposed successes. "Emily," he said, steepling his fingers, "he's nice, but he's not one of us." "One of us?" I repeated. "He's a person, Dad, not a membership level." Dad sighed. "You know what I mean. His background, his ambition. You're going to inherit all this one day. You need someone who understands that world." "You mean someone who won't mind being controlled?" I shot back. His eyes hardened. "You're being dramatic." That night Dylan asked if everything was okay. I lied. "Yeah," I told him, kissing his forehead. "They're just overwhelmed. It'll get better." I was wrong. By the time I graduated, Dad expected me to slide seamlessly into the family business. He'd already printed business cards, "Emily Ashford, VP of Operations, just for later," he said. "So we're ready when you are." But I had other plans. Dylan and I had been quietly working on a startup idea. Small, eco-friendly boutique hotels that treated staff like partners, profit sharing, transparent wages, mental health support, green certifications that actually meant something. We called it Heaven Stay. When I told my parents, we were sitting around the long walnut dining table. The one Dad loved to brag was imported. "I'm not taking the VP role," I said, my hands shaking just a little. "Dylan and I are starting something of our own. We already have a small group of angel investors interested." You could have heard a pin drop. Dad's face went red in a slow, dangerous way. Mom stared at her plate. Daniel smirked like he was watching a car crash. "You're joking," Dad finally said. "I'm not," I replied. "I care about hospitality, but not the way you do it." I can't watch staff get burned out and disposable anymore. I want to build something better. You want to throw away everything I built for you, he snapped. For some social justice fantasy. And a guy who can't even afford a decent shirt. Mark, Mom whispered, but he ignored her. It's my life, I said quietly. You don't get to own it. He stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. Then don't come crawling back when you fail. Chloe tried to hug me when I left. Her eyes were red. Daniel just shrugged. Dad'll calm down, he said. You know how he is. Just don't push it. I didn't push it. I walked away. The next 2 years were brutal. Dylan and I rented a tiny apartment above a laundromat. I did freelance consulting for small bed and breakfasts to keep us afloat. We pitched investors, got turned down, pitched again. I pulled all-nighters drafting pitch decks while Dylan taught himself code to build our booking platform from scratch. We opened our first Haven stay in a converted factory, building on the edge of a mid-sized city cheaper lease. Gritty neighborhood, a gamble. We recruited our first staff from people who'd been laid off from other hotels. Housekeepers, front desk agents, line cooks. At our first staff meeting, I stood there with sweaty palms and a voice that kept wanting to crack. I can't pay you what I want to pay you yet, I said honestly. But I can promise you this. When we profit together. Your names are already written into the equity pool. This isn't my dream. It's ours. They clapped. A few cried. I did too. The opening weekend was fine, not a disaster, not a smash hit. We hovered at 40% occupancy for months. We offered walking tours hosted by locals, meditation mornings, free coffee for night shift workers in the neighborhood. Slowly, guests started leaving glowing reviews. Then a travel influencer with 2 million followers stayed with us by accident. Last-minute booking. Messed up dates, nowhere else available in the area. She loved it. She posted a video. This hotel treats its staff like humans, and I've never felt more at home. Within 48 hours, our bookings were full for 2 months. I should have called my parents then, when things were turning around. Instead, I kept my phone on silent. A year later, Haven Stay had 3 locations and serious interest from big-time investors. That was when Dylan proposed. He did it in our first hotel's rooftop garden. Under the cheap string lights, we'd hung ourselves back when we couldn't afford proper ones. His hands were shaking as he held out a simple silver ring. Emily, he said, you've rebuilt my idea of home from scratch. Marry me? I said yes so fast he laughed. When it came to the wedding, I made what I still think was the right choice. I invited my family. I wrote the invitations myself. Dad and Mom, I would love for you to be at my wedding. I know things have been tense, but you're my parents. I'm getting married at Haven Stay's rooftop, the place where it all started. Love. Emily invited Daniel and Chloe too. I imagined Chloe crying happy tears and Daniel cracking jokes at the reception. I imagined my dad walking me down the aisle, even if we pretended the past never happened for just one day. They never arrived. A week before the wedding, I called home. Straight to voicemail. I messaged Chloe on Instagram. Hey, did you get my invite? She left me on read. The day before the ceremony, my phone finally buzzed. It was a message in the family group chat, one I'd been silently removed from months ago and suddenly added back to. It was from Dad. We won't be attending. This Haven Stay nonsense is an embarrassment to this family and a direct competitor to our business. Consider this your choice. You picked them, not us. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Dylan found me sitting on the kitchen floor. What happened? He whispered. I handed him the phone. He read the message. His jaw clenched. Emily, we can postpone. We can elope. We don't have to do this like this. I wiped my eyes. No, I'm not giving them that power. We're getting married. I just need to adjust my expectations. No one from my family showed up. The rooftop was beautiful. Our staff had decorated it with wildflowers and mismatched chairs. The city skyline glowed behind us. Guests, our investors, employees, and friends filled the seats. As I stepped out, alone, a murmur went through the crowd. Someone whispered, "Where's her dad?" Another said, "She's walking herself." Wow. Dylan's eyes were shining. The officiant smiled. The wind tugged at my dress. Every step felt like walking away from the girl who folded towels to earn praise from a man who could disappear her existence with a group chat message. At the reception, our head housekeeper, Maria, tapped her glass with a fork. Some of us didn't have family at our weddings either, she said, raising her glass. So we made our own. To Emily and Dylan for building a place the rest of us could call home. To family, everyone echoed. I smiled, but a part of me broke that night. It stayed broken and slowly hardened into something sharper. 3 years later, Haven't Stay was everywhere. We'd expanded to 12 locations in major cities and tourist towns, but we never franchised. Every hotel remained under Haven't Stay's direct control so we could protect our culture. Staff turnover was half the industry average. Guests raved about us online, and then one day, a major business network ran a feature, From Motel Kid to $185 million Hotel Empire, The Rise of Haven't Stay CEO Emily Ashford. They filmed a segment in our first hotel, panned over the rooftop where I'd gotten married, interviewed housekeepers and front desk staff who talked about profit sharing and being treated like family. They asked me, on camera, "What do your parents think of your success?" I paused. They taught me how to work hard, I said carefully. The rest, I had to learn on my own. The segment aired on a Wednesday. On Thursday morning, my phone buzzed endlessly. Congratulations, partnership offers. Old classmates suddenly remembering we went to school together. And then I saw his name, Dad. My thumb hovered before I opened the message. Proud of you, kiddo. I always knew you'd do great things. Let's talk about merging our brands. Ashford plus Haven't Stay could dominate the market. Dottie read it 3 times. Kiddo. The last time he'd called me that, it was right before telling me not to come crawling back when I failed. My stomach twisted. My first instinct was to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I set it down calmly and walked to the window of my office. 12 stories up, glass walls, the city spread out below. I had built this. Me, Dylan, and the people who believed in us when no one else did. Everything okay? Dylan asked, stepping in with a cup of coffee. I handed him the phone. Silently, he read the message, his expression shifting from confusion to cold fury. He really said, kiddo. Apparently, I said. My voice sounded oddly detached, even to my own ears. So what do you want to do? He asked. I stared out at the city. For years, I'd fantasized about this moment. The moment he would realize I didn't need him. That I never actually did. In my mind, sometimes I screamed at him. Sometimes I ignored him. Sometimes I rubbed every dollar in his face. But now that the moment was here, I didn't feel like screaming. I felt like planning. My revenge didn't come in one impulsive move. It unfolded in stages. First, I replied, Hi Dad, thanks for reaching out. It's been a long time. I'm open to talking. There's a hospitality conference in New York next month. I'll be speaking on a panel about ethical operations. Maybe we can meet there? He responded within minutes. Perfect. I'll be there. Proud of you. I showed the messages to Dylan. You sure you want to do this? He asked. Yes, I said. I want him to see me on my stage, not his. I want him to see exactly what he walked away from. And the merger? Dylan asked, raising an eyebrow. I smiled for the first time since I'd seen Dad's name pop up. Oh, he's going to offer it, I said. And I'm going to say no. But not just for me. The conference was held in a massive hotel ballroom. Ironically, one of my father's competitors. When I walked into the lobby, badge around my neck, I spotted him instantly. Older, more gray at the temples, still in the same expensive suit style he favored when I was a teenager. Mom was beside him, thinner than I remembered, clutching her purse strap. For a moment, my chest tightened. Part of me wanted to run into her arms like I was 10 years old again. Instead, I straightened my blazer and walked toward them. Emily, Mom breathed. Her eyes filled with tears. You look beautiful. Dad smiled wide, like nothing had ever happened. There's my girl, he said, pulling me into a hug I didn't return. I stepped back. Hi. We made awkward small talk until we found a quiet lounge. So Dad said, leaning forward, I've seen the numbers. You've done well, very well, but you're still small compared to what we could be together. Together, I repeated. Yes, he said. Ashford has the traditional market. You've got the young crowd and that whole ethical angle. We merge. We dominate. We can structure it so I retain controlling interest of the combined brand just at first, of course, and you oversee operations. It's what we always talked about, Emily. Father and daughter, partners. I let his words hang there. My heart was pounding, but my face stayed calm. Do you remember my wedding? I asked softly. He blinked. Your wedding? Yes, I said. The one you refused to come to. The one you called an embarrassment. The message where you told me I'd made my choice. His jaw tightened. That was a difficult time. You blindsided us, Emily. You were competing with us. I had to make a statement, I repeated. You made one, all right. Mom's eyes filled with tears again. We watched the wedding photos online, she said quietly. Chloe showed them to us. You looked so happy. I wanted to go. You could have, I said. My voice cracked for the first time. You chose not to. Dad frowned. Emily, we're talking about business now. Let's not get emotional. Something inside me snapped back into place. Oh, I'm very clear on what we're talking about, I said. You see my face on TV, attached to a $185 million valuation, and suddenly family matters again. You want my company, not my forgiveness. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Let me make my statement, I continued. Havenstay will not merge with Ashford. We will not license our brand to you. We will not take your investment. I built a company on the idea that people are not disposable. You taught me that lesson by treating me as if I was. Mom started crying in earnest. Emily, please. I looked at her, my chest aching. I love you, Mom. But you stood by and let him cut me out of your lives. Out of the group chat. Out of my own wedding. Dad's face hardened again. You're making a mistake. No, I said. You did. Years ago. I'm just letting you live with it. He leaned back, scoffing. You think you don't need us? You think this little trend of yours will last? Hospitality is a brutal industry. When the buzz dies down, don't come asking for help. I stood up, my legs surprisingly steady. I'm not a kid working for free in your motel anymore, I said. And I'm not your backup plan. Havenstay isn't a trend. It's proof that you can build something without breaking the people who hold it up. I turned to Mom. If you ever want to see me not as leverage, not as a business move, but as your daughter you can call. You can come stay at Havenstay as my guest. No brand deals. No business talk. Just us. Her lips trembled. She nodded. I'd like that. Dad opened his mouth again. But I was already walking away. The panel went well. I sat between two executives from big-name chains and talked about ethical operations, profit sharing, and redefining luxury as feeling safe and respected, not just having marble floors. When the moderator asked me, what would you say to people who think your model is naive? I smiled. I'd say it's profitable, I replied. And I'd say I've watched what happens to companies that treat people as expendable. They might grow fast, but they rot from the inside. I didn't look at my father sitting in the audience. I didn't need to. My revenge wasn't loud. There were no viral call-out posts, no dramatic confrontations caught on camera. It was quieter, heavier, and honestly, more painful than I thought it would be. In the months that followed, Dad sent a few more messages, longer, angrier, then finally silent. I heard through an industry contact that Ashford was struggling. Staff turnover was high. Reviews were slipping. They tried rebranding, copying some of our ideas, but guests saw through it. Chloe eventually called me. I wanted to come to your wedding, she said, crying. Dad said if we went, we were choosing you over the family. I was 18 and scared. I'm so sorry, Em. I cried too. I can't get those years back, I told her. But if you want to be in my life now, we can start here. She visited one weekend and stayed in one of our hotels. We stayed up late in the lobby, drinking hot chocolate and laughing like kids again. She met Dylan and our team. She saw the world I'd built. This feels like what home was supposed to be, she whispered. I nodded. Yeah, for me too. Mom came to visit months later alone. She walked slowly through the lobby, touching the plants, the art, the handwritten welcome notes our staff left for guests. I'm proud of you, she said, tears streaming down her face. I wish I'd been brave enough to say that sooner. I hugged her. It didn't erase the past, but it was a beginning. Dad never came. People ask me all the time, isn't success the best revenge? Here's what I've learned. Success is only revenge if you use it to make better choices than the people who hurt you. I could have become just like my father, controlling, transactional, obsessed with control. Instead, I chose to build something where no one would feel like the disposable kid folding towels in the back. My family skipped my wedding when my $185 million hotel chain hit the news. My dad finally texted. I didn't destroy him. I did something worse. In his eyes, I refused to need him. I chose myself, my husband, my staff, my guests. I chose to let his absence stay exactly where he put it, on the sidelines of my life. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you have forgiven him, merged the companies, and tried to fix things from the inside? Or would you have walked away like I did? Let me know in the comments. I read as many as I can, and if my story hit a nerve, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear that they're allowed to choose themselves, because sometimes the sweetest revenge is building a life so good that the people who doubted you can only watch it from afar.